30 days, no Google, no Facebook, no real name anywhere. The Tor browser for absolutely everything. Cache only. A burner SIM card. I deployed every single major privacy tool simultaneously to build this ultimate digital fortress. But you know what? It broke on day 3. And then it broke again on day 11, and day 19, and day 26. This explainer covers the full 30-day experiment from top to bottom. We're going to look at the extreme setup I used, the exact moments where my anonymity failed, and precisely why it failed. Look, I'm not going to tell you anonymity is impossible, but I am going to show you exactly where it breaks in the real world, so you know which parts of your own privacy setup actually matter and what's just giving you a false sense of security. Also, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we cover cybersecurity and digital privacy every week in plain language. Hit that subscribe button and the bell. We publish new explainers every Monday and Thursday. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the 30-day setup, walk through the actual timeline of failures, look at what genuinely worked, explore the core concept of the threat model, and wrap it all up with some final lessons.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the 30-day setup, or as I like to call it, building the digital fortress.
When you stack all these measures together, it honestly borders on digital paranoia. We're talking about a dedicated laptop with 0 personal accounts ever signed into it, the Tor browser mandated for all web activity, a Mullvad VPN and a burner SIM both purchased strictly with physical cache. Let me tell you, that is exactly as incredibly inconvenient as it sounds. I used Proton Mail created over Tor, and crucially, absolutely no Google, no Facebook, no Apple ID, cache for all purchases. On paper, this is a remarkably strong setup, used by journalists and activists in genuinely high-risk environments. But well, it was about to face the relentless, grinding friction of daily life.
Which brings us to section 2, the timeline of failures. This is basically my diary of breakdown.
See, this wasn't a slow leak. It was a rapid escalation. The fortress completely unraveled in 4 distinct stages: day 3, day 11, day 19, and day 26. Let's break down each of these checkpoints.
Day 3, the first failure. My intent here was totally anonymous. Used Tor for absolutely all web activity. But here's the harsh reality. I needed to access a service I use for work, and like so many modern websites, this service outright blocks Tor exit nodes. I was immediately hit with massive CAPTCHA walls and demands for phone verification. Access denied. Just like that. I had 2 incredibly frustrating options: stubbornly stick to Tor and stay blocked, or bypass Tor and compromise my anonymity just to get my work done. I chose the VPN without Tor for that session. The lesson here is pretty unavoidable. The most comprehensive anonymity tools are largely incompatible with a massive chunk of the modern web. Websites that block Tor force a hard choice between access and anonymity. You just cannot always have both. Then came day 11, the metadata failure. My goal was secret communication using my freshly created anonymous Proton Mail account. I sent an email from this address to a personal contact. But here is the harsh reality that completely broke the system. They replied to my regular personal email address and simply copied the anonymous address in the thread. Boom. In one single, totally innocent action, they created a permanent metadata link between my anonymous email and my real legal identity. I hadn't explicitly told them not to do this because, well, I falsely assumed the anonymity was self-managing. It's not. Anonymity is a social problem just as much as a technical one. Your anonymity is literally only as strong as the security awareness of every single person you communicate with. Day 19 brought the habit failure. And honestly, this was probably the most instructive failure of the whole experiment. It took exactly 25 seconds. I needed to look something up quickly. Without even thinking, out of pure muscle memory habit, I reached over, picked up my personal phone, and Googled it. 25 seconds of searching before I realized what I had just done. In less than half a minute, weeks of intense, exhausting operational discipline were completely ruined. This brilliantly illustrates a core truth about privacy. Anonymity is the path of maximum resistance. It requires this sustained, exhausting conscious effort against years of deeply ingrained human habits. The default state, having Google on the phone you carry absolutely everywhere, is the path of least resistance. And under cognitive load, stress, and time pressure, our brains default to that path of least resistance. This wasn't a failure of willpower on my part. It's just how the human brain and our habits actually work. Finally, day 26, the account correlation failure. I'd created multiple anonymous accounts for different purposes, different emails, different usernames. I thought they were entirely separate. But looking back at the data, my activity across these supposedly separate accounts created a highly correlatable pattern. My active hours aligned exactly, my response times and behavioral delays were incredibly consistent. Even my syntax and writing style were identical. Without a single piece of identifying technical data, my behavioral fingerprint linked those accounts to each other and inevitably to my real identity. True anonymity requires obscuring your behavioral fingerprint, and most of us dramatically underestimate just how loud that fingerprint actually is. All right, let's pivot for a second. Section 3. What actually worked? The tactics that actually survived the 30 days. Out of everything, these 3 steps genuinely succeeded. Step 1. Strict physical device compartmentalization. Keeping completely separate physical devices for anonymous and non-anonymous activity was by far the most reliable barrier. Step 2. Using Tor for specific, carefully managed, isolated sessions. That means absolutely no personal account logins and zero cross-contamination. And Step 3. Using Proton Mail over Tor for communication. But, and this is a big but, only with contacts who fully understood the context and operated accordingly. The technology works, folks. The tools do their job. The real challenge is the sustained human operation of those tools against our habits, social expectations, and just, daily life. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, the threat model. This is a total paradigm shift in privacy. So what is a threat model? It's an honest assessment of who exactly you are trying to protect your information from, what they are actually capable of, and what the consequences are if they succeed. I cannot stress this enough. This is the single most valuable cybersecurity concept you can master. We have to stop trying to achieve impossible absolute anonymity and start targeting our privacy.
Let's look at the difference. For the everyday user, your real threats are advertisers, data brokers, and opportunistic hackers. You do not need a burner phone for that. You need password managers, two-factor authentication, a reputable VPN, and data broker removal. None of that requires extreme operational discipline. But if you're a high-risk journalist or a whistleblower, your adversaries are vastly more capable and the consequences are severe. For you, Tor and burner phones are absolutely necessary. You must match your tools to your specific threat model. Overkill creates daily friction that inevitably leads to you just abandoning the tools entirely. Undermatching leaves you vulnerable. You need the exact right level of protection for your actual situation.
And finally, Section 5, core lessons and our final takeaways from the experiment.
The ultimate verdict of this entire 30-day gauntlet is captured perfectly right here. Anonymity is not a product you buy or a setting you enable. It is operational discipline. You can't just purchase a VPN subscription and magically declare yourself invisible. It doesn't work like that. The websites that block Tor will force trade-offs. Your uninformed contacts will accidentally expose you. Your own ingrained habits will override your conscious intent the second you're stressed or in a hurry. And your behavioral fingerprint? It's going to track you even when your IP address doesn't. So I'll leave this question to you. What would be the hardest part of a 30-day anonymity experiment in your own daily life? Would it be that absolute no Google rule, the sheer inconvenience of cash-only payments, or maybe the constant friction of Tor-only browsing? Let me know down in the comments, because until you understand what you're actually willing to sacrifice, absolute privacy will remain nothing more than an illusion. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.